Welcome to International Definition. My name is Kenneth Freelane, and I'm going to be your host for today's edition of International Definition. Today on International Definition, we're at the planetarium on the Tacoma Park campus of Montgomery College. We have been invited to a meeting of the Science Club by Dr. Harold Williams. Dr. Williams is the faculty advisor to the Science Club, and we have a very special guest whose name is Dave Rahija. Dave Rahija has been an international consultant on safety for the healthcare, aerospace, and medical device industries for more than 25 years. He specializes in helping his clients develop effective solutions which are simple, comprehensive, and profitable. He has been a consultant as well as a trainer in several countries, including Japan, Australia, Sweden, Norway, Germany, and the United Kingdom. For Siemens Medical Systems, he provided training and consulting for 3 years in Stockholm in order to help Siemens recover from a massive FDA recall. Prior to his consulting career, he worked at GE Healthcare and at Booz Allen and Hamilton. From 1994 until 1999, he served as an educator. He was an adjunct professor at the University of Maryland and the doctorate program for reliability. He currently teaches online courses in healthcare management at Florida Institute of Technology. He is also the Healthcare Safety Associate Editor for the Journal of System Safety. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to present our guest for today, Dave Rahija.
So these are the tools. You can use any of these to solve the problem. See, that's how you solve the complex problems. Very simple way, no money involved, very little money involved. And question is why not? Again, well, the reason it doesn't happen, because that professor Harry Frankfurt's theory from Princeton, that people are just used to following others, so they just do what others do. And that's what's the biggest problem. We need to think. Okay, then last step is you must validate the mitigation. Yes, you designed a good procedure. You must validate it's working right all the time. Just like you design a good EHR system, electronic health record system, you need to validate, does it produce any other kind of harm? So that's what validation means. Make sure it's working right way, it is giving you meaningful use, and it's not creating additional hazards for the patient. Okay, so let me summarize with examples for each. Number one is identify hazards early. Early means as soon as you are going to install a new procedure or new process, before you install, okay, not after you install, because you might find out you don't even need that process. So why create a process, then analyze? Analyze first, then make sure you have the right process before you install it. Okay, yeah. Like I was in Siemens. Ken talked about Siemens Medical System devices. These were X-ray systems. And they were manually controlled. There's two settings. One for low-level radiation, which is normal chest radiation. Other was 40 times more radiation for special applications, therapeutic use. There was nothing going wrong when the device was handled by mechanical switches. Then they decided to automate the device, put software controls in it. And what the software people said, well, now it's easier to control. You press, if you want regular radiation, you press one on the keyboard. if you want higher radiation, you put press 2 on the keyboard. Yes, very simple. Very simple to train. They were happy. Everyone understood the training. So it's nothing difficult about So they were very proud that they were very proud that they're so simple. First week, 10 different hospitals, 10 patients died. First week. Can anyone guess why?
Number 1 button for one mode and number 2 button for the other. Because they were right next to each other.
Right.
So if they had been on opposite sides of the keyboard or something.
That's exactly. See, they kept one and 2 are next to each other. It's easy to press 2 instead of 1. How many times have you done on the keyboard? You want to press A and you wind up pressing S. Exactly. Now, simple thing they didn't figure out. And if they had done FMEA, failure mode and effects analysis, what could go wrong? Somebody would have thought about that. Someone can accidentally press 2 instead of 1. That's exactly what happened. Now, if they had said 1 for regular radiation, maybe 9 for other, then there would be much less chances of that happening. Yeah, simple things like that. So FDA said, well, if you got stupid mistakes like that, we don't know how many more stupid mistakes you have. So so that's why they shut down Siemens for 2 years. They were shut down for 2 years. They're not allowed to sell any X-ray system until you prove it to us. You don't have any mistakes. And that's why I had to go for training in Stockholm. I had to train everyone from the president of the company down to the lowest operator at the production floor. All of them had to take the training. And the FDA, that's how they satisfied FDA. But they were shut down for a whole 2 years. Okay, but this could have been identified before they started selling the system. Easy to. So that's the idea. Start before you even designing the system. What could go wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the second one is mitigate them and change the process. Now, okay, so let me take you another example, because this mitigation is very, very important before anything goes wrong. Okay, so I was at one of the hospitals, okay, and there was a hallway in the ICU department. The housekeeper mopped the floor, and while the floor was wet, a doctor slipped and fell. And I told the doctor, are you going to write the incidents report? They're supposed to write incidents report if anybody get incidents like that, where injury is possible. He says, no, it's my mistake. The housekeeper put a sign there, wet floor. It's my mistake. I should have listened to that warning. And so he refused to write it. Okay. Then, because he did not want to look ignorant. Okay. Then, about an hour later, a nurse was about to fall, and I caught her. And she was very grateful that I prevented her from falling. And I said, can you do me a favor? Please write an incidents report, and so that others don't fall this way. And she promised to write, but she never did. Maybe because she was too busy. She had intention of writing, but she never did. So now here's a small trick you all can learn. The trick is, go and ask the employee who works in the department for a long time. That person almost always has a solution. So I started asking the housekeepers. And I got the oldest one first, because she has a lot of experience. So I asked her, do you have any ideas how we could prevent these people from falling? She says, I have idea for the last 10 years, but nobody would listen to me. Yeah, she has been telling them for the last 10 years, but nobody would listen because she's just a housekeeper. So I said, what's the idea? She said, well, if you got a hallway, if you don't want people to fall, you mop this side of the hallway first, so the other side is dry, and let the people walk on the dry side. And then when this becomes dry, mop the other side. Simple idea, nothing, doesn't cost anything. So I went to the head of the environmental services. I said, CTCS is such a simple idea, doesn't cost anything, why not? And he said, yeah, that's an excellent idea. Thanks for bringing it up. He started thinking it's my idea. Because I was a consultant then, now they will listen to me better, right? And they wouldn't listen to her. So they implemented right away. And nobody fell after that. But problem is that I tried to give her all the credit, but they always gave me the credit for solving that problem. So that's a trick you remember. Ask the employee who has been working there a long time, they always have a solution. Almost always. That's how I find my solutions. Okay, and third, and now there are different ways of validating different ways of validating. Okay, validating means first verifying if people are doing the work right way. It's not that just the end results. You know, if the work done is bad, it's going to be, output is sometimes going to be bad. So you verify how they are doing the work, how good the work is. Is someone owner of that work, someone responsible for that work? Like for example, okay, typical problems in the hospitals is, if the patient is harmed, for example, okay, one girl went for bladder surgery, okay, and somebody else's MRI wound up in her file. And the other patient, so everyone thought she has a breast cancer because it was somebody else's MRI showed breast cancer. So they prepared her for breast surgery. And once you get the patient to the surgery, all doctor can see is that portion open. And doctor is seeing MRI shows breast cancer. He cuts the breast and finds no cancer. Now, so validation means verifying every step in the process is going right or not. Part of that validation should be, can somebody else's file get into her file? A lot of people have similar names, and can same sounding drugs can get into her systems, similar sounding. And there are a lot of hospitals keep the drugs next to each other, like heparin 1000, heparin 10,000, just next to each other. Easy to pick the wrong one. And so validation means verifying if every step in the process is done right and it cannot produce any wrong effect. And then finally measuring the output, how many patients are harmed. So it's both, measuring the final output, measuring the details of each step in the process. So that's the idea of validation. Okay, so this is a science of patient safety, identifying the hazards early, mitigating them, validating the entire process. That's really science. Yes, go ahead.
How can you find, is it public information to know how many people were injured at hospitals? Is that public information, or you have to be in a position like yours to see that?
No, this information is public, but it's voluntary. That means hospitals are required to report, but it's voluntarily. That means, and only time they're actually required is definitely required when somebody gets killed or harmed, then they have to report. But as long as the patient is not fatal, they don't have to report everything. So now one way to, here's a trick you can use. I recommend to hospitals, but they're not using it. Someday they will. This trick is, if you are a nurse, you report on all the problems that you see on your co-workers also. But you don't have to mention their names because you don't want to punish anyone. You just say, I saw this happening, and this is what happened, and I got suggestion. And so if everyone reported on everyone around them, you will have thousands are reported. Nobody's going to get punished. Nobody's going to get fired. Only thing is that hospital must have a system to fix these problems. See, if we don't fix these problems, there's no incentive for people to report. But when people are reporting and the problems get fixed, people love to report more. Yeah, in fact, University of UCF in San Francisco, they don't do like this, but they encourage reporting in any way they can, and they never punish anyone. They get about 8,000 to 10,000 reports a year, while typical other hospitals are getting only a few hundred. So yes, there is a way to work around that. Okay, one more question, then I think we should be. I got up 2 more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
When you say that it's voluntary, I still wasn't completely clear about, is it voluntary for the hospital to report it on a regular basis? Is that what you mean?
Yes, it's voluntary to report on a regular basis, right.
But when they have an incident, then they have to report out to the community? Or?
Right. For adverse events and never events, they have to report. Adverse event is something caused very disabling or serious harm or death. Or never event is like cutting the wrong leg or removing the breast instead of bladder. Those are called never events.
Never events?
Yes. That should never happen. And those they are required to report. Because if they don't report, the government is going to find out anyway, because these will be in the medical insurance files and everywhere. So they do report those. Yes.
Earlier, the 5-step process you said that was created, could you share with us?
Can you say a little louder?
When you were mentioning the 5-step process that eradicated the error rate from 14% to 0%, what is the 5-step process?
No.
The 5-step process that you mentioned earlier.
On regarding what?
Infection.
Infection? Oh, okay, regarding infection. Okay, the 5-step process was, number 1 is that the doctors must have fresh gowns and gloves. Number 2 one was the patients there's a particular cleaner that they have to use, disinfectant on the near the wound. Number 3 is the patients must be draped with a fresh gown. See, what used to happen, doctors used to come, well, too busy, doesn't find the gown, he starts using the same gown before because he couldn't find the gown. But now he cannot do that. And okay, those are 3 steps, and I don't remember all the 5 steps, but if you give me an email, I have an article on it. I can send you that article which has all the 5 steps. Or if you can go to Johns Hopkins website and look under Peter Pronovost, he's the doctor, and he has articles in which 5 steps are mentioned. But if you want, I can send you. Yeah, that's a very good question. I think everyone should know those 5 steps. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Oh, okay. Okay, this little bit about the book. It's called Safer Hospital Care Strategies for Continuous Innovation. Okay, so idea is to innovate your way to make patients safe. And innovation means finding a better way, cheaper cost, lower cost. And there are 14 chapters. There's one chapter on quality. How do you make a quality much higher? How do you make safety much higher? Why do these things happen? And what are these tools, description of these tools? And then what are the dangers in the medical devices that harm the patients? Just like that, I talked about X-ray machine, the technician forgot to turn it down. Then there is a chapter on Swiss cheese theory I talked about, where multiple things have to happen before the harm is done. You need to identify what those multiple things are. Then you know where to put the barriers and safeguards. Now, one chapter I did not mention in this is called a chapter on equanimitas. ACQUANIMITAS, equanimitas. Okay, it's a Greek word, and Dr. Osler, who was the first chief medical officer of Johns Hopkins, he used to preach that. And basically, this is saying that every doctor and every nurse must find a balance of mind and body, because the patient is trying to ask you questions and you are in rush. Doctor is in rush. Patient cannot ask the questions. Patient cannot tell what they want to tell. Or the doctor is going from one place to another in rush, and he's trying to seems rush. He overlooks things, or she overlooks things. Same with the nurses. She's got thousands of alarms going on here and there. So he preached that you must train your mind and body to look balanced when you're in front of the patient. It's a great technique for patient safety, because then when you're giving 100% attention to the patient is going to tell you their solution themselves. Just like this housekeeper told me the solution. Yeah, a lot of times I go to doctors and I got the solutions, but doctors wouldn't pay any attention to me. So what I do is I just start ignoring the doctors and treat myself anyway, and I get done. Okay, here's a great example of that. When I was in high school, I fell from 20 feet, and I broke my 4th and 5th lumbar. And I grew up in India. At that time, I was in India. We were poor, so we went to government hospital. He just put a plaster of Paris around me. He says, go home and lie down 2 months, you will be okay. Well, I was okay after 2 months, but I had to lie down 2 months. And then suddenly I started feeling pain in my back every time I sat more than 30 minutes. Because my spine was crooked, because they did not straighten my spine. Okay, and went on for 20 years, painful. I had to leave my job in the one department because I couldn't sit long. I had to find a job that, like a quality control person who walks around all the time. That's how I wound up in quality control and safety, because I couldn't sit down and do my job on the computer. Okay, so I had to do something. Couldn't tolerate for 20 years and for the rest of the life. I saw all the surgeons. They all said the only way is I had to open up my back and straighten the spine. That's a very high-risk surgery. And of course, I did not want to do surgery anyway. So I said, okay, I got to find my own solution. So that's what I did. I started reading books on psychosomatic medicine. It's a New York School of Medicine. They do a lot of that research. And what somatic medicine is about is that a lot of healing, treating you can do by training your mind. And so one thing I learned is, from that medicine, is that a lot of pain is created by you. It's not really there. So this back pain could be created by me because I think I got hurt. I must have back pain. So I stopped believing that my hurt is causing back pain. And it didn't do any good for some time. But one day, suddenly, I sat for a long time and no pain at all. I said, what happened? And it worked. After that, I never got any back pain. No surgery at all. So it's my mind. It was not really in the back. So there's a lot of important things to be learned. Okay, so anything else we need to discuss?
How would you suggest a person read your book? Should they go through it section by section or skim it? Okay,
question is, if somebody wants to read a book, should they go read the entire book by section by section? I would say just read the first chapter to get the overview. Then other chapters are independent of each other. You can pick and choose what you want to read. And I'm going to give one book to the head of the health science department next week and ask that person to put it in the library. This way you might have access to the book. So okay, Ken, it's all yours now. Thank you very much.
Let's give him a round of applause. Our speaker today has been Dave Rahija, and he's been telling us about the science of patient safety. We're here on the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus of Montgomery College, and I'm glad that you were able to join us for today's edition of international definition. And now, until our next broadcast, I'm your host, Kenneth Freelane, thanking you for joining us today.
Thank you.